Hi everyone, sorry I'm just waiting for Facebook to catch up with me and I've got a really blank table. I don't normally have a blank table. I'm just checking the camera position, so you have to bear with me. I have to stand on my step to do this because I is vertically challenged. Right, okay, this is an impromptu one. I wasn't going to do this tonight, but I got, oh hi Alex, I hope you're feeling a little better. I wasn't going to do this tonight. I was going to do something else linked to what I was doing, but I got my arm twisted. Right, I don't know where to start. Okay, I'm going to just go for it and just bring in lots of little bits and pieces. Oh, bear with me because it's heavy. Okay, right, what have I been doing? I'll give you a bit of a backstory. About 18 months ago, Charmaine approached me from Dolly Dimples and said, you know, you keep doing all these doodles on air. You really ought to think about, you know, doing them, bring them in stamps and doing them this, that way and the other. Now, I've got to say that these have been made nearly a year, and it's the main reason for not bringing them out sooner is circumstances on my behalf, but also I didn't want to bring them out. I wanted, because Charmaine's doing it and Dolly Dimples are doing it for me. Charmaine was going to originally bring them out, and that's why they're called Shady Designs. Shady because of two reasons. One, I'm a big rap fan, and I like a certain rapper. And then within our group of friends, it was like I was called Sims Shady because of the rap side of it. Also, because I didn't actually want to demo these and bring them out because they were Dolly Dimples, I wanted Charmaine to do it. I was going to stay in the shade, in the shadows. Okay. A little bit of arm twisting later, and Charmaine is very, 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 very persuasive. Has persuaded me that I really ought to. So, okay, right. So I've got different bits and pieces here. Now, this is going to be a mixture of all the things that I wanted to bring. And Alex, it is Alex. And they're different. I'm just going to, because there's different stamp sets here that because I've already got loads more done. Hold on. Let me just pull out the ones that you can't see and pull in the ones you can see. Oh, that was a bit naughty of me. Right, okay. Right, so these are my boards that I did for the colouring of them. And what I wanted to do with them was I actually wanted everything to be a starting point. I wanted it just to be shapes that you could use in lots of different ways. So, for example, on this one together, you could take this bit off and it's just a circle with decoration in. You could cut these out and they're just plain circles. So the idea was it was a starting point for beginning to layer up your stamps and layering up all your different designs. And we all have lots of different backgrounds, but then in the same way, stamp and emboss them in golds on backing papers, and it has another different vibe again. Turn it around that way and you've got another look. Turn it around that way and you've got another look. Chop it down and then you've got another starting point. So just a simple flower on it. So it was just a way of me, you know, doing it as starting points for, rather than doing a full detail stamps as you've seen me do before in my books, it was just breaking down the initial shape so you could have a starting point and then build as much as you wanted to do. So we've got that one, and as you can see, I couldn't work out what name I wanted, so I called them two different names. So then we've got this one here, which is round. And again, I love circles, but I wanted all the shapes to be a starting point. So this one here is a starting point. So you could have it this way round, and then I've left this gap here, so you could just stamp a simple sentiment in there. And that's your, if you're into card making, that's your card done. If you're into journaling, you could take it even further with journaling, and I'll show you some of the ideas I've done. You can have it that way round, and again, you could still have a sentiment on there, put a flower, a butterfly, you've got added leaves. You know, you could take it wherever you wanted to, but it was the grounding, the starting point of sort of the, you know, getting into your layering. A lot of us are used to starting from the ground upwards, if that makes sense. So we're quite happy with the blank piece of white card, shove a little bit of ink on it and work upwards. And I just wanted to give you a starting point with knowing where to layer. And there's obviously the accessories there. And then the circles will all fit inside each other. So if you wanted to do that sort of design, you could. And all the other little bits have been thought out along the lines that I love mandalas. They are stamps, Serena. I'll show you the size of them. And that, so you could use them for mandalas. If you wanted to use them for card making, you could use them for card making. If you wanted to do journaling, you could do journaling. If you wanted to do mixed media pieces, you could do mixed media. So it was a starting point for absolutely everything. And so that's that one that's coming out as well. Then we've got, I'll do those ones in a minute. Then we've got this one as well. And this one, again, is a starting point. So it's simple layering of stamps. So instead of having to mask off designs to put the leaves behind, you've got that part. But then I wanted the shapes to be simple enough that if you just wanted to cut out the central bit, you could cut out the central bit and use it. You've got flowers and extra leaves and extra stamps. So you can carry on building up how you wanted to. Now, I've got handwritten sentiments in here, but I appreciate that not everybody likes everybody's handwriting. Now, I'm a bit of a geek. I love looking at other people's handwriting. Can you tell she's nervous? Yeah, I am very, very nervous. So we have done something else there. Like I said, I'm a geek. I love other people's handwriting because it's an insight into you. Doesn't matter what you think your handwriting looks like. It's an insight into you. So we've got this design here. And again, it was meant to be a starting point. If you wanted to get into stamping and being able to layer. So you could leave it just like that, a simple sentiment, and you're done. You could cut out and bring out lots of different layers and it changes again, if that makes sense. So that's that one. Now, also in the collection is going to be 2 DLs. And this is a simple circle one. And it can be stamped just as it is. It looks stunning embossed in gold. I have to be honest. It looks absolutely beautiful embossed in gold. Charmaine's actually done this with John's Kaleido with foil, and it looks, whoa, it looks absolutely amazeballs. But then I've put smaller elements in here that I love to do mandalas, and you know I love pattern building if you followed me with the Sakura shows and the colouring shows. So that one's in there as well, but it also is a starting point because you've got the butterflies, stamp and cut that out and it can sit on there. So you can make them girly, you can make them pretty, you can grunge them up. And that was it. I've coloured them pretty, but I wanted them to be, you know, use them how you wanted to be. Hi, Mum. Glad you can join. Now, this stamp here is another DL, and it's just a paintbrush with a vine, with the leaves, which I've done loads of. And as you can see, some of the other elements from the other stamp sets go in. So I've got the... I don't know what they're called, but they're called something. But then the leaf design goes with that leaf design. So it can work in there. It can go with that leaf design in here. So the paintbrush now could actually sit along the top of it if you wanted it to. And this one here is actually going to be, when I launch it, my freebie. So this is going to be the free stamp set as my first launch. So they're, like I said, they're different designs, but they're done in a way that they're a starting point for you to start layering and getting a little bit, you know, a little bit different. Go simple, or go and layer up. So I'm just going to go through some of the other bits and I'll show you some of the designs I've done. Now, the other thing we have got, see, look, I'll show you the stamps. So the stamp sets are A5. Yours will be cleaner. And clear rubber stamps stamp out absolutely beautifully. So I won't show you the stamp sets because most of you know what a stamp set looks like. So we'll put you to one side. Now, what I have done is I've also, let's get a darker piece of card. Oh, we've got stencils in here. Okay. Now, the stencils are all designed to, because obviously Charmaine and Robbie are doing it my launch for me, they're also designed to fit in with the binding system if you've got it for Dolly Dimples. But all the stencils, I wanted all the stencils to be able to be used as stencils, but also be able to be doodled in, because I love to doodle. And so you've got different elements that you can use for stenciling in. You've got different elements that you can actually doodle in. So it was important that, you know, you can use the stencils how you want to use the stencils. They all emboss to create an embossed background. You know, they're absolutely beautiful along those lines. But it was important that I could use them both ways. I've cleaned my stencils because they were really, really grubby. So again, the second one here is, you can use it all, and I'll show you a card that Jane did. But it also can be brought in with your actual doodling. It can be brought in if you do bullet journaling, or you like to do those sort of journaling as well. So you've got all the zigzag lines, the arrows, you've got dots, and again, use them. You've got borders here that you can draw around and stamp inside, or use your embossing ink and make it a colour border with embossing ink, so you can build them up, you know, that way. And finally, the third stencil is this one here, and again, it's basic leaf shapes that I wanted to use, so you could doodle within them. Like these stars behind here, you could put down and then put the flowers on top. These have been designed that they can make a flower, rotate it. You can then put another part of the petal, rotate it again, and you can create another part of the petal. I did clean them, Steve-o. They got soaked in a bowl earlier. So there's lots of different ways, you know, you can use them. And I wanted them to be accessible. I suppose I'm being selfish here. I wanted them to be accessible for my style of crafting as well. I'm sorry, Charmaine, because, you know, that was it for me, sort of thing. But there's elements that you can pick and you can make backgrounds with. They work perfectly with texture paste, sparkle paste, and all of that. So they're the stencils. Now, my die cut board I've put away safely somewhere, so you're going to have to go with what I've quickly cut out with the dies. Now, we've got a die in there, and it's got leaves on it, and it's got butterflies. And the leaf shapes match the stamps perfectly. So the die will cut down one edge, and it'll emboss down the other edge. And I wanted to do that for a couple of reasons. I wanted to do that so if you wanted to create a card that you could then have another layer in, you could do it. You could actually then, if it was the other way round, it could be the header on top of a card, and this part folds down, so you now got a decorative header straight away. It then matches the stamps. But because obviously Charmaine has on the edge dies, we have created an edge die as well that will cut the whole lot of it out. So you can then have that as a whole piece to use on your work. There is embossed lines in there because I wanted that, I was trying to be important. So if you were colouring or you were inking, you could see all that detail straight away within it. And the same on this side is embossed. So it was trying to do a nice generic design that can be, take it as far as you want to take it, as it were. So you could cut it all out and it becomes a strip. They look stunning when they're mounted together. And I wanted to do it that, you know, these could be all mounted together and layer them all up. And suddenly I've got a texture plate for my jelly plate. Okay. And that was important, that I could see it being used, not just for card making, for any type of crafting that you wanted to use it for. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments, but I can't, for once, I can't talk and read at the same time. So, and that was important, just to see it that way. So as I said, it does cut out. So if I show you this one, you can see what I've done in this one. I've actually cut the outside edge out of it. But I've embossed the die. The die is detailed enough that if I didn't want to cut it out, I can actually just emboss the detail. So I can create an even further image to ink and go over. And the shape it leaves, I'm just trying to see if I've got, where did I put the shape it leaves? Oh, here we go. I'll get there in a minute. Right, so the shape it leaves, as you can see there, will then sit perfectly back over your die cut. That if you then want to use that as a template to colour with your inks and everything like that, if I put it the right way round would help, that way round, you can then colour directly straight away with your inks, and it will stay put to actually do it. So it was thinking, you know, of the process. Helen, it's on the craft store next week. So you've got all the different things there. So I wanted it to be able to emboss designs in, so when you did inky processes you could do that. I wanted it to be half cutting, or we've got an outside cutting edge, so you could cut it away and it becomes either a header or a decorative part to the end of the card. Excitement and nerves, yeah, I know. So that was the main one, but because it's and it's going to be called On the Edge die set number 9, because I'm doing work with Dolly Dimples, and to me it was important that it works with all of the stuff that Charmaine has brought out, whether it's the albums, the previous die sets, absolutely everything, because it defeated the object if it didn't cross over to some of the stuff you've already got from Dolly Dimples. It just didn't seem fair, if that makes sense. So now, some of the other dies I've got, I'm just going to pull these here. Oh, let's put you on the black card. So, some of the other dies I've got here stay in the card. So this one now, if you carry on and on and on, will make a continuous border. So it's got hearts and dots on it. This one comes out, and what I wanted to do with this one and why it comes out is if you had 3 or 4 of them going along that way, they can become the corner in a card. And you could have a decorative corner straight away, whether that was for a photograph, an art journal. It could then clip on top of a page. So if you wanted to do it for a book, or sorry, let's bring it down. If you wanted to do it for a book or anything like that, you can actually do that as well. And then we've got this one as well, which is also a continuous border. So the idea is you can thread things underneath them. You can have them go on forever and a day, however much you want to die cut them. They're also small enough to go into a smaller die cutting machine, which is also important. So I've just seen I'm going all over the place. I do apologise. And then we've got other shapes which come out. So we've got a leaf design, a border with a heart, some circles, another leaf, a circle and another border. So they all look like this. So that's the leaf. So they're the 2 different leaf designs, which are drawn on the drawings I've done in the stamp. That little design is obviously in one of the stamp sets as well. And then you get that feature with it. We've got the border here. And the idea with the border there is that you could swing it round, have 4 of those, and you've actually created a border straight away. So you've got all of that going on. And then we've got the tiny little bubble stamps. But what was also important when doing the dies is each one of these, if you cut them into card or you cut them into mylar or whatever, can also make you a stencil. And I thought that, so they're useful as die cuts, but they're then also suddenly useful as stencil designs. So you can now create your own stencils, even though we've got some of the pattern designs within the stencils. You can now create it to the size you want to do it, and everything like that. So I could create that as a star. This one here I could cut 5 times and suddenly I've got like a star shape. I could cut this in the 4 corners and I've got a stencil then that I can stencil that design on. So it was important that you could use them as die cuts, but you could also use them for a lot more within your crafting and take it from wherever you wanted to take it, if that makes sense. You know, she says. So they're the dies. All right, let's move you out of the way. And, okay, let's move you out of the way. And then I'll show you some of the things I've done with it. All right, let's file you over there so I don't lose you all. So this is like my journal. And as you know, if I show you a page that I've done, I love drawing mandalas and I love pages that, you know, that you can go off the edge with and create other sort of patterns with. And I wanted the stamps to still fit in with my sort of design. So I'll pull my book down. So when I can actually then, I'll get there. So I can now use the stamps and I can create all the page sort of designs that I actually want to create. If I put a black piece of card, you'll see. So I stamp in a light grey because then I can do my work afterwards. So I can create all the borders, I can create all the lines I've got there. I've got smaller stamps that I can work in. And these designs are detailed enough for you to colour, but not quite so daunting as if you were going to do something like I've done. Oh, sorry, my book is everywhere. Something like this. So they're not quite as daunting as something like that. They're more of a clear pattern, but you can actually then put your own personality, your own stamps, and everything else. Angela, I am excited, but I'm also, you know, incredibly nervous. As I said before, I was trying to persuade Charmaine to go on and demo it as it's a Dolly Dimples, but she kept sort of thing persuading me. So I've got that one there. So then when you do the other stamp, I can still create the edges. So now I've got 2 pages that layer on. This is just the way I like to do things. But the stamp design, there is enough in the design of the stamp that you can take that even further if you wanted to, but you've got a good starting point straight away to do your Zentangles in. I'm a big fan of Sandra Rushton, so where you see her go around in the circles and do all her little Zentangles, you could do those. We've got extra elements in the stamp set, so we've got the brackets here that you can actually then create a writing area if you wanted to make it a journaling, and so on and so forth. And then finally this one here. So this is the big circles, and I've turned it round, and then I've got my decorative page, and these smaller circles come within the stamp set as well. So they're all starting points, and they can really oh, thanks, Alex. So they're all starting points, and they look more complicated than they actually are, if that makes sense. So then when I create my 3 pages, which I love to do in my journals, I love decorative edges, I've got that straight away to work with. And that was important for me to do it that way. Right, let's put you to one side. So I'll show you the paper pack in a minute. Let's do that last. So what I meant by doing other things is... Right, I'm just going to bring a lot of rubbish in, and then I can show you where they all started. So for me, the stencils, you probably might have seen this before. This is my Sakura journal. So for me, the stencils had to be easy to use to create quick patterns. So I've only used 2 colours on here, and it's... hi, Lynette, I got your Perfectly Imperfect. I had to borrow that. So it's only 2 colours in here, and so it's... Using that stencil, I've created a bigger and bigger and bigger pattern. But in the same breath, I've taken the same pattern, and that's now on a card front. So I didn't want stencils just to be as we think stencils are. I wanted stencils to suddenly cross over and not be, you have to use your inks. This is using your micron pens and some pencils. So from this sort of design, I've now done exactly the same, and I've created a card from with it. But it's so that is why, you know, it was important that the stencils worked in that sort of manner for me, and that you know, I can carry on doing these sort of things. I was trying to see if there was the other page was in here or the other book. I think it's in the other book. So, and then this is my original design for the stamp set, and this is where it was taken from. So this, as you can see, is a very old journal that's falling apart, my Sakura one. And I like journal pages. This is obviously very inky. But if you didn't want the inky background, you've got all the elements that you need, because all of these parts are in the stamp set, the little flowers, the leaves are there. So you've just got the big circles, and then you take all the decoration where you want it to go. And that was, you know, it was why I wanted it to be done that sort of way. And it's the same again. So this is the stencil, the other stencil that's in there. And again, it was using the stencils to create patterns. So I've got the flower that... Hold on, let me just grab this one. So the flower design in the stencil here, I've got it here, but I've left gaps enough in between the petals that the star shape from the second stencil can fit inside. So you can then create another doodle flower like this. And that was it. And then you can see all the different leaf designs from there. So you can draw around all the stencil if you want to, or you've just got a basic leaf shape. And then obviously the zigzags and the circles added on, you know, to pad out your design how you want them to be. So like I said, I wanted it to cross over as many crafts as possible and not just be one craft. So it's a selfish range in the basis. I want it to be a range that you take and do whatever you want to do with it, and take it as whether it's card making, art journaling, mixed media, chill out time for you. You do it, you know, how you want to do it. So then this is, again, using the stencil, I've created this mandala shape. So it was using all the shapes that are within the stencils. All that I did was just draw my lines out, and that was just my starting point. And I've used the stencil again to be able to create absolutely every single one of those features within that mandala. So, you know, we've got the chevron shapes, we've got the dots, we've got the lines, we've got the arrows and the dots there. We've got the petal shapes that will then create greater size flowers. This is from the circles that are in there. You've got tiny little circles as well. I mean, you could hand draw those. You don't really need a stencil, but if you wanted to. But that is where I wanted the stencil to be able to go from. That it could go from something that technically deemed as a little bit more mixed media-y to something that's mandala, or even then be used for a card. And along, along those sort of lines. And so it was important that they did that. So, and then I'm just going to grab something else that I'm looking for, she says, so I can show. Where have I put it? Is it in here somewhere? I can't find where I've put it. Hold on, I'm determined to find it. I'll put it somewhere safe, haven't I? Oh, well, I'll find it. You'll have to wait till you see it. Anyhow, taking that mandala design just one step further. Oh, it's here. Duh. I wanted to be able then, with the stamps, because the stencils create mandalas, but then, how many videos do I have? I've made 5 videos so far with lots of these ideas. So when you get your stamps and your stencils and you get your collection, you're not left alone. So this is a video. I've made it slightly differently, but this is a video so you can do it as well. And this is a design made with absolutely every single one of the stamps that we've got in there. And that was important, that you've got smaller elements in here. You've got the leaf designs. You can, you can take it as far as you want. Now, I appreciate this isn't for everybody, but from that mandala design, I then have cut it down, and suddenly I can put it on a card front. So I can take how I've made this and replicate it onto a card front. So suddenly now you can do that, and that becomes a card. It doesn't have to be an art journal piece. It can be crossover, so you can have a smaller version of that. You can still create the same with the layered stamps and everything like that, but you've now got a card, because card making is your thing. Does that make sense, or am I just waffling away merrily here to myself? So I've got to have a drink of water now. Oh. Right, sorry. So, and that was, I wanted it to be, like I said, the goal is that it translates over to whatever style of crafting you want to be. So if you're a stamper, but you're not brave enough to be, a detailed stamper, the designs are easy enough to put within each other, and make, and go to whatever direction you want it to be. So we've got those from there, from the mandalas, to go from there. And let's just grab this lot, because I don't think I need all of this, do I? No. Right, let's move you out here. This is just my leftover prep box. So again, that's just another part of the mandala, just to show you. So that one's a little bit, that's half an A5, that's an A6. So the same design can be made into lots of different ways. So, but then again, if you're not into black outlines, this is the same stamp set, but I've stamped in colour. So you've now got a totally different look, but they're the same stamps, used slightly differently, but because I've stamped in a coloured ink straight away, that can go in your journal page, or it can become a card front, whatever you want it to be. So, and that was important to me, you know, that they're all a grounding, they're all a starting point for you to take either your stamping journey up to the next level, or your art journaling, your doodling, whatever you like to call it, to the next level. So, as I said, so just by stamping coloured ink, it changes the look of it again. And I just use my Sakura gel glaze pens on that, just to colour it in and add the extra highlights to it. So we've got that there. But right now, this is my A3 journal, and I don't know I'm going to get all of it in, but again, that is one of the stamp sets that I've taken, and this, sorry, it won't all fit in because this is a massive A3 journal. So you can, from one smallish design, you can fill as big a page as you want, and using the stencils, as you can see, in with the stamps. Okay, I've gone a bit OTT and made a huge page, and I didn't need to, but it's there to do. But the stencil helps, you know, to add it on. You've got the little circles, you've got the joining points, so I can join one to the other. I've got the arrows, you know, so on and so forth. And as I said, it's all about you having a little starting point, and then that'll help you get to the next stage each time. She says, right, let's move you out of the way because that is huge. So then, before I show you some more samples and things like that, I will just show you quickly the papers. Now, my papers might be muddled up because I've been using them. Okay, I use pencils, Claire, to colour the page on the craft. Pencils is my thing. When I want a little bit of downtime, pencils is my thing. It just is. Right, now, we've done a paper pack, and these are all based on backgrounds I've made on the jelly plate, 9 times out of 10. Sorry if my camera's a bit close. I'm trying to catch up, but Facebook lags. Now, in the stamp sets, they are handwritten sentiments, and I appreciate it's not everybody's thing, and I do appreciate that. They're there so you can bring them into your art journaling if you want to use them, because it's handwriting rather than something typed. So what we did is when we've created a paper pack, and we've got lots of sentiments in here that can be used for art journaling, your doodling, or your card making. So silly things like, you are today's favourite moment, good vibes day, you are my happy ever after, gratitude is the best attitude, wish big, it's a good day to be happy, so on and so forth. So they can all be cut out, they're all on card, and you can then use the sentiments wherever you want to use them. I don't know how Charmaine prints them, Anthony. You'll have to ask Charmaine. Pencils is my thing, but they are my thing when I want to chill, Noreen, because I go into a totally different zone when I'm colouring with pencils. How long have I been keeping it secret, Squirrel? Nearly a year, Steve-O. It's taken Charmaine nearly a year to persuade me to demo them. Sorry. But, so you've got all of the there. So in the paper pack, it was important that you had that choice, that you could use the handwritten ones in the stamps, or you have the paper pack or the card pack to do it. All of the cards, as Charmaine just said, I was about to say, that can be over inked, foiled, so on and so forth. Foiling, I think Charmaine's foiled them, Anthony. So in the paper pack, it goes back, right, I'll explain the vibe of the paper pack or the thingy. I appreciate that for a lot of us, getting a white piece of card and creating an inky background and working up is not daunting. That doesn't matter if we've been crafting for 10 years, 1 year or whatever, but for a lot of people, that can put them off for the next stage. They want to take their stamping, or they want to take their art journaling or whatever. And I wanted everything to be a grounding point for you to be able to actually do that. So we've got the sentiments in there. And one of the things I did do, now I know tags aren't everybody's thing, but you don't have to use the whole sticker butterfly. So I've created, so these are like my jelly plate prints, and then the ghost stamping from the stamp sets over the top. So you can cut the tag out, and it's a basic design there. So you've got a starting point with the paintbrush, for example, adding the butterfly in the corner, adding some of the other smaller embellishments. The circle stamp there, the flower that's in one of the stamp sets with a couple of the leaves. So they're all great starting points. Only she would do it. I know. Charmaine's, trust me, Charmaine has been, yeah, she's been working away. She's been, bless her, she's, you know, been incredibly patient. So I wanted them all to be starting points, that these were the easy inky backgrounds. They weren't in your face inky backgrounds, but they were lovely. So you could take a stamp and just do a black outline stamp, or a simple sentiment, even one of the sentiments from there, and you've got a starting point. But also these were going to be reference points for you to try and create your designs with. So like I've got greens and reds on here, and I've got a little bit of, I can tell you how I made it, that's acrylic paint there. And they can all be starting points that if you wanted to create a tag or a background from, you could actually have that. So we've got the tags in there. We've also, what I've also done is I've done border strips as well. I love using little border strips of card up. They're great ways just to 2 or 3 strips down the card, like say those 3 strips cut out down a card, simple sentiment, a flower and a butterfly, and you're done. They don't have to be anything else. Also, the strips were designed that when you cut the strips out, where we had the dies, you know, that don't cut all the way out, you can now put the strips underneath them or weave them in and out. So that was it. And they're all done from the backing paper, so they all coordinate. They've got the stamped images in that within the stamp set. So we've got the borders. And then what I've done is we've got a page of like circle toppers. It had to be circle toppers, obviously, because I like circles. I'll have to keep it on its side. So when I can take a stamp set, for example, if I take this one here and I cut this out, this now sits over the top of that circle, which means you've now got a coloured background straight away to work on if that's what you want to do. So the same here, you can then put this one, if you want to put this one on top, and you've got a coloured background to go, you know, straight away. We've got other circles going on there. So where I've got this one, I can put the pink suddenly and stamp that over the top, and I can then add my colouring, you know, straight away. So it's like creating your own little jelly prints for you. I've thought about everything. I've tried, Lynette. I really have. I want to try and make it accessible for every sort of crafter, you know, that's there, sort of thing. So this now can then sit there on top of that. So you've now got an inky background straight away. So if I grabbed... I was going to do a demo, but I'm going to run out of time. I will do a demo with one another night. So where I've got this stamp here, if I've got an inky background that I've created, I can stamp this stamp on as a starting point, and you've got your inky background. You love the look of inky backgrounds, you're just not confident to make them, and that's what I really wanted from the paper and card collection. So we've got that, and then it's just some other backgrounds that have all been done and inked. As you can see, so some are bolder, some are lighter than others. You know, so there's a generic colour. Some have got a big print out on straight away. So if you wanted to do that straight away for your art journal page, you've got that design straight away. Also, that if you wanted to cut round elements, you could cut round elements. Then we've got the darker one. So the darker one here is... You've got a darkish or grey background, stamp and emboss in golds or silvers, and that all then goes together as well. You can see some of the subtle ink through there. So there's a lot, you know, there's a mixture. So that one here is just a plain jelly print that I did. So you've got the 3 colours there if you wanted to. If not, you've just got a red section, which is all inky. Well, it's paint actually because it was acrylic. You've got a lighter section there, or you've got a more orange section. So if I took the stamp that's the paintbrush one, I can stamp it down there, and I've got a base colour, you know, to start working straight away. So, you know, so a mixture. There's lighter, there's darker. I'm just trying to see if there's anything different. There's a whole host. I could keep you here for ages. Yeah, look, as you can see, there's a whole host of them here. Oh, right. So that was, I won't go through every single paper, but that was the thinking behind the paper kit. Was we didn't want to put the paper kit in with everybody's because not everybody's into papers. But we wanted to do something with the sentiments because we were aware not everybody's into handwritten sentiments. So that was the way it went. Carol, yeah, inky backgrounds, but also to use it like a little, your own sort of reference library to see colours that go, that don't go. I mean, I'm not a purple person, and Steve-O will be the first to tell you there. And sort of thing. But so this is like a jelly print that I've done, and then I've obviously overstamped it on with the design that goes on. So you've got that, even if you didn't want to use it as a backing paper, you've got ideas for colours straight away. We've got circle stamps. You can circle stamp inside the leaves. So it's all a reference point, you know, to actually make it work along those lines. Right, so let's put you to one side over here. Right, so I'm just going to not show you lots of samples, but I'm just going to show you different samples that they are to give you an idea of what I mean. So I'm just going to split the stamps up so you can see. Right, so if we take the paintbrush one, so as you can see, so the paintbrush one here is on one of those tags. So all I've done is to cut the tag out, inked around the outside, put 2 of the border strips on, and cut out that stamp and just stuck it onto a DL card. Obviously, I've coloured it with oxides. So, you know, you can make it look more complicated. You can, you know, take it. I know, look, purple, Steve-O. I had to do it. Charmaine told me I had to bring every bit of every colour in. So you can take it that way. But then you can do something like this. This is Sheila's one here where she's just done it beautifully. And that could go in a frame. I've got to say a big thank you to lots and lots of people, which I will do on the show as well. There's so many people. I don't want to keep saying names now because I will forget. But then, so we've got that one there where Sheila's just done it, and just to go into a picture frame. Sort of thing, and along those sort of lines. And then this one I'm going to have to borrow from Sheila. So Sheila stamped the paintbrush 4 times and created an actual frame. So that part there, you could have your sentiment in, you can take it wherever you wanted to. So the designs are there to give you the layered look, but without them being too in your face, if that makes sense. So then I've got one, so Brian Newbigin did some for me as well. He's been an absolute superstar. I love Brian's style. He's got a really clean, inky style sort of thing. And he's done it here. So he's brought the die cuts in. So rather than stamp, he's brought the die cuts in to be his layering points. So he's just stamped the stamp out, layered it up again. But all the extra bits are the die cuts. So the die cuts match the stamps as well. But then you've got this one here stamped in black. And then all he's done is cut out the paintbrush. So they're just meant to be, you know, lots of different ways to use, you know, the same design. And then I'm just going to grab a few others just to show you quickly what I mean. Oh, and then I've got this one by Alison. And Alison's just, so when you consider those there, so you've got, if you want to make your own inky background, you can. But if you just want to stamp it clean, and then Alison's gone over with the stencil in the background there, just in tiny little places, and added one of the stamp sentiments on the top. And then the border stamps you see there are in the stamp sets as well. So you can go, if you're a clean crafter, you can go clean. If you're an inky person, you can go inky. If you love the look of ink but don't know how to use it, you can cut one of the tags out and use one of the tags from the paper collection and take it from there. So that's how it works from those. Right, let's just put you, I'm putting them all down so that I don't lose them, because I have them all in beautiful order. And then the big stamp, which, you know, seems like daunting in a way, you can then use in lots of different ways. So this one here, I believe, is Sue. Yeah. So Sue's done it in just blues and blacks. And actually all she's done is cut the circle stamp out, cut the circle out, the leaves again, and then this circle has been raised up, and then the sentiments from the pack and one or two stencil, one or two other stamps. So suddenly it looks, you know, different again. I thank you, Alison. I love your samples. But then the same stamp actually done, and then the stamped onto one of the backing papers, a darker backing paper with darker colour. So this is all backing papers, no colouring at all, with some of the other stamped images. Takes on a totally different look again. And then we've got Brian did it, but has only now stamped partially. So instead of stamping it all, he stamped partially. So you don't have to make a big card if you don't want to. You can stamp a portion of it and have a smaller card as well. And then Patty's done hers onto one of the backing papers and then just added some extra stamping on, but then just added beautiful extra, just a little touch of watercolours here and there on one of the backing papers. So, you know, take it to whatever level of crafting you want to take it to. And that you know, that was how I wanted it to actually go. So I'll quickly show you some others and then I'll let you go, because obviously I know I'm waffling now. So again, that's the circle one. So the 3 circles that I showed you before in the journal, this one has been done. So it's stamped and embossed with gold onto one of the backing papers, and then the smaller parts taken out and added on top, a few of the die cuts or other stamps in, so you can then take it again into a different look. Or you've got this one, which I believe is Sue's, where she stamped it and only partially stamped it and coloured it and made an A6 card. So you don't have to think about things being really, really big or really, really, you know, small. And the same again, like here, I've just stamped the frame out and then just did simple matte and layering with one or two of the elements. So it again looks totally different, she says. So let's move those out of the way. And what I wanted to show you about, like, the stencil. So Jane's used the stencil, gone through and then just stamped some of the other areas. Oh, if I turned it the right way round, sorry, Jane. It would be, you know, so it's a good day to be happy. So that is just the stencil in like rainbow colours, a few stamps on the top, and that is a nice, quick, clean background. And you know, or I haven't quite finished this one. This one is the same, another stencil. I just used the leaves, added some of the circles in on top and some simple flowers. So you can go pretty, depending on what colours you've gone. You can go bolder, you can go funky, you know, whatever you know you want it to go. And then I will just do 1 or 2 more because I've just seen the time. So the smaller elements are there. So you, if you want to create backgrounds with the smaller elements, you can do. So as you see with Patty, I think that's Patty, yes, has done like a rainbow with the heart. But put 2 of the hearts either side by side and you've got a butterfly. So you can do it that way. The little flowers, is this Sheila? Yes. Has just done a little the flowers onto a panel and created a background, you know, that way as well. So, you know, there's lots of different ways you can actually take the stamps and how you want to do them. And then finally, I'm going to finish on this one because this is Jane's done it like an ATC book. So using lots of the different stamps. So that is a large stamp, but tinily now on an ATC. The stencils again. So it was to take it, you being able to take it, all of the elements into whatever direction you wanted to take the elements into. And that was just really the essence of the whole collection, she says. So, as I said, this was rather an impromptu live. And I thank you ever so much for your time. I am going to do another live and I will do some demos on it. As I said, I've got 5 videos. Making videos isn't the hard part. Editing videos. Oh, I can feel the life force ebbing out of me. But I didn't want you, because I do appreciate when you look at some of these, people will go, what are those? So I wanted to explain, you know, in the videos how you could use them and the ethos of them, and show, you know, how to make 1 or 2 of the different more complicated designs if that's the route you wanted to go down. So thank you ever so much for your company tonight and indulging me in my whim sort of thing. Thank you to Charmaine and Robbie for, you know, badgering me long enough to do things. So as I said, it was, I just wanted to do so you could do, every bit did something to suit every bit of crafter. And that was important. So I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm going to go and get a drink of water because my throat is dry. I never normally get a dry throat. It's really, really weird, isn't it, sort of thing. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you, everyone. Take care. The videos, Dominique, will be on YouTube. Yes. And I will put a link to my YouTube channel where you can see them. Okay. I'm hoping to release the videos in one before the ODS on Tuesday, time allowing, and then in between each show for the ODS, so you can see what, you know, what you can do and what everything like that. So when you get yours, there'll be at least, hopefully, if I get them all edited in time, 4 or 5 videos ready for you to, you know, do your own thing or follow along with me, if that makes sense. Take care, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. See you all soon. Bye.